All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Street League Drone Racing. And I am super excited for the announcements and live stream tonight. This is a very special night for us. It's going to be the beginning of some really big things. But we're mainly excited to have you guys here, and we're excited to be giving away some amazing stuff. And I am joined here with our co-host, Jonathan Ficklin, one of our longtime season pilots and Street League admin. Thanks for joining us, Jonathan.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to be here. I'm also super excited about tonight to tell everybody what we got cooking. So,
yeah, it's gonna be a great time. I'm really looking forward to it. So, let's dig into it, because we'll start out by well, first of all, we got some really awesome giveaways. I'm super excited about those. So we're going to be giving away some brand new Street League apparel. We've got hats that we've been working on, and everybody's kept saying like, "Oh, I want a Street League hat. I want a I want a Street League hat, honestly." So I'm excited that we'll finally be able to bring some people what they want. But yeah, so we've got 3 hats we're going to be giving away, and if you want to be entered in the drawing to win the hat, the rules are that you have to be in the US, and you have to comment in the chat, and that's it. And we'll do a giveaway partway through the stream. And then also, I'm really excited because we're going to be giving away a Hobbywing 60 amp ESC. And that's a little pricier of a giveaway, so I'm excited to see who wins that. We'll do that one towards the end of the live stream, so definitely stick around for that. But yeah, looks like we're live. We got some people streaming in. Good to see. What's up, guys? Good to see you all here in the live stream. And yeah, so let's dig into it. Let's start out by kind of backing up, and let's take a look back in the history books here. Sorry, I'm dealing with some echoing on my side. There we go. So let's go through the history. So we started out season 1, and I guess, Jonathan, you were really kind of an instrumental part in us getting the initial spec that we had going, right? Because you and I had watched up. You and I had grown up watching like DRL, and DCL was pretty big at the time too, and you know, we were excited by like these bigger quads, the 7-inch stuff, like pretty much right away, but it wasn't really accessible to the average pilot. So like, I guess, what was it like? I guess describe from your eyes what it was like as Street League kind of blew up in Colorado initially, and how we, you know, started to get to that first race that we ended up doing.
yeah, initially it was a bunch of us that just wanted to get together and kind of, compete on a common platform. There was I guess at the time there was a lot of debate over who was the fastest pilot in Colorado.
Oh yeah.
We were doing a lot of open class stuff, and there were several of us. At any given day, we could win the local events we were holding. So we decided that we really wanted to put our skills to the test, and we kind of tried to do it on open class, but it wasn't a super fair playing field, I would say. Some of us were able to bring more quads on a race day than others, and we were like, man, what can we do to solve that?
Yeah, and then at the same time, we were seeing all the big quads were really cool. We'd seen Jordan Temkin had come up with the Project 399 practice rig, and that was just like such a crazy platform at the time. Like, looking back on it, in that time period, there was no other quad that was like that. It was just so beefy, and like, you could not break these things. I still have the first one that he actually sent us for season 1. I think I have some bent standoffs, but the carbon is all original. The screws are all original, and that was the platform we chose initially, and then we started just kind of battling it out. At first, it kind of started as a stock league when you think about it, because it was we had like one type of motor that we knew we could allow, we had one type of prop we knew we could allow, and at the time we were only doing one frame, so it was very like just kind of testing the waters, testing the idea, see if it sticks. And then we ended up hosting a sort of a race 0, which was really interesting. Vanover showed up to that one, and it was it was super interesting because he was the first person, in my opinion, to like exploit the spec. So he came with a super spicy tune. His D turn was cranked. It was like you could fly it for 2 minutes, but at 2 minutes you needed to like go get air on the motors because they were burning hot. But it was the first time that everyone's like, oh, that guy's quad is faster than ours. And we're like, well, we got all the same hardware. Like, I guess we can't really control the tune, so that's part of it. And I think that was kind of a running theme through season 1, where it was like, there's all these little, it's like playing whack-a-mole as far as it goes developing a spec. So we first, dealt with the tune by not dealing with it. We realized it's just we need to make public good tunes as best as we can, and that makes it easier for the pilots, etc. But yeah, that was the first time we were like, okay, this is going to be hard. But yeah, so we did like that race 0. It was super cool. And then it wasn't long after that we kind of took this really bold approach. We hadn't hosted a ton of races. Like, we weren't super skilled as race directors at that time. But we wanted to host a race in Vegas right after the DRL race that was occurring. And just kind of like piggyback off it, because there were a bunch of pilots there who were all fans of drone racing in general. And to be able to go watch a drone race and then go participate in one was something that, like, I personally thought would be pretty exciting. So yeah, then we rolled out to Vegas.
Yeah, it was a good way for us to kind of take this idea that we'd come up with and give it to people outside of Colorado, and just see what they could do with it and what kinds of possibilities were open.
Yeah, and there were some really awesome, at that point we had figured out like, oh, we really want to support more than one type of setup. So we had allowed the frames to be open source because we're like, okay, let's let people try to advance that in the sport, but let's regulate all the things that are a little bit like bigger advantages, I would say. So like the props and the motors at that time were limited. And then as we moved along, we kind of got to the point where, okay, well, now we're going to open it up to various different types of motors. And we're like, okay, so now let's limit the size of the motor overall, but then let people run other motors, and then we'll try to KV match it. And that was a good idea in theory. And in theory and practice are the same, and in practice they are not. So yeah, I think that's something that some of our earlier participants can attest to. But we got it closer. We were doing a decent job at limiting the drones and stuff, and that I think that's kind of where we were at around kind of during season 2. We got to that point where we were spinning people's motors up on the bench to try to figure out what their RPM was, and then assign them a throttle cap based on that. And then we learned that different ESC settings would cause that to go out the window, and so things started developing pretty quickly. We were working on tech to fix all of it, but it was just like this really hard thing to solve. And I would say, like, by the end of the season, a lot of the faster guys had kind of figured out what worked and what didn't. So because there were all these rules and stuff, it was like they'd figured out what made it fast, but then everybody does that, and then it kind of settled back down. But it was really interesting to watch the drones overall. I feel like we're much faster from the beginning of season 1 to the end of season 1. Would you say that's a fair statement?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Looking back on it, there was so much that we didn't know about that space and that platform in particular.
Yeah, and we started to figure out kind of what were things we were trying to do, like torque testing and all these crazy things. And we finished out season 1. Amari took the championship there. It was an incredible battle. It was him versus Heads Up, actually. And fair and square, Heads Up, Amari beat Heads Up, which is anybody beat Heads Up is a very rare sentence to say. And Amari absolutely earned that win, and it was an incredible race. That was a really exciting and really fruitful wrap up to our first season trying to run drone racing kind of at all. I think all of us had raced in drone racing. We'd all participated, but we wanted to see if we could like do a little bit more for the community and like start giving back. And so that was season 1, and it was pretty exciting. And then we rolled into season 2, but right as we did, I got hit up by Infinity, and he's like, hey, I've got this idea for a way to limit the RPM to make it the same on all the drones. And I was like, we've thought about that. We haven't figured out how to make it work. And he came up with basically what turned into the RPM limiter. So him and I worked pretty hard to develop different sides of that, and it ended up working really, really well, I would say. So we were able to get that done and ready to rock. We were the first drone racing league to have an RPM limited race, a seasoned RPM limited race, I'm certain. And that was Battle at the Ranch for season 2. And there were a couple like minor bugs, but honestly, like, how do you feel like the RPM limiter performed when we first released it?
You know, during those initial tests, I remember just watching those videos of you guys at the parking lot on vastly different setups. You know, we had the OG, the prig that still lives to this day, and then we had Leadfingers, who was on that Froggy Arm prototype.
Yeah.
When that was brand new, and man, seeing you guys duke it out like you were, and just kind of validating that software and making sure that it was actually, you know, limiting the RPM like we expected, was one of the highlights, like, of my year at that point.
Yeah, that was a magical moment when we saw how well it worked, because we knew that it could do something, but we weren't sure how well it would work. I feel like it was the closest drone race that had happened historically up until that point, including stock leagues. Because what we found during all of our testing in the previous year was that even if you are picking all the same motors and all the same frames and stuff, you end up with a problem called binning. So people were buying motors that just happened to be a little bit higher kV, and so, but the variance was big. It was like 1 to 200 kV what could be the difference between motors. So if you get all 4 motors that are 100 kV higher, that turns into a lot of RPM, and it turns into a pretty big advantage. And so this solved that. And so I genuinely think that was the closest race up until that point that any league had had. And that was a really amazing race. That we had MCK took the win in the first RPM limited race. And it was kind of as it should be. We saw Dubicki with a close second. So it was a 1v1 battle at the end between Dubicki and MCK. Dubicki, I think he didn't have the first lap that he wanted, but he was hanging with MCK, which was really cool. But then also just the equalness of the quads was just so exciting to see. And
yeah, that was a really hard fought race.
Yeah.
For MCK. I remember him taking a crash in like the first round of Final Four.
Yeah.
With damaged the drone to a point. Yeah. They ended up, you know, mid-airing, and MCK luckily was able to finish, so he advanced, but his drone was just destroyed.
Yeah.
Lucky enough, we had another DRL pilot there that let him use his quad. He had already been eliminated from Final Four.
Oh, yeah. That was close. We almost had to disqualify him for an LED rule of all things, and he like got across the line at the last second. Like, genuinely, it was about a 10th or 2. But yeah, that was nerve-wracking for me as a race director, having to disqualify one of the fastest pilots in the event. But no, he
got it done, and
yeah, that was really awesome to see. And so, like, kind of during season 2, this was you know, the advent of the RPM limiter. It worked so well. Huge shout out to Infinity, and also Lamone. He's put a ton of work into this thing as well. And I'm sure there's other people who have too, but those are the two like key players when it comes to RPM limited racing and spec racing. I definitely give them a really big pat on the back for you know, working on that. And then yeah, we had a bunch of really awesome races. You know, during that time, we raced at Flight Test, which if you haven't seen Flight Test's YouTube channel, they are all things RC planes. They've got just a bunch of great guys making videos, doing cool stuff. So yeah, we got to race there, and that was kind of a historic place to race for RC flight in general. So really enjoyed racing there. We got to race in Colorado, and then one of my favorite races that I didn't get to go to that I really want to this year was Sandusky Speedway.
Yep.
And gosh, that race was so cool, hosted by Lonnie's crew out in Ohio. And yeah, so that's, if you ever want to race on an actual like a car racing course. That's what that is. It's a full-size like oval, and it's got an infield that they set up gates through, and you're coming across the actual finish line for the motor speedway as the finish for the race, which it was just so much fun to watch. And Dubicki ended up taking the win in that one, and that's kind of he's got a couple wins under his belt. He's got a little bit of history going for him.
Yep.
And and then we did our championship not too long ago, feels like yesterday, in Dallas, and that was an incredible race. We had all the Dallas boys, some of the Houston boys came up. We did a last chance qualifier, so they all got to fly. And then we had our top 16 racing there, and that one was an especially immaculate championship because actually I've got my notes here wrong. We had introduced boost mode at that point, and I believe, when did we introduce boost mode? I think we introduced it early on, pretty soon after the RPM limiter. In terms of like our schedule and everything. So that was a whole new, for those of you who don't know, boost mode, you hit a button and for I think it's 3 seconds, you get additional RPM added to the RPM limiter, and then it slowly goes back down, and you get 3 boosts that you can use throughout the race, and it has just added a whole nother dimension to the racing.
Yeah, Letter's right. We introduced boost mode at I.O. that year.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was at I.O. Yeah,
Yep.
That was super exciting and nerve-wracking as a software developer.
Yeah, we were partnering with Ashley and Velocidrome to bring a spec track to I.O. And so, over the course of that partnership, we were like, what kind of game mechanics could we add to drone racing?
Yeah, what we wanted to do was a recharge gate, like a real-life one. We couldn't quite make that work yet, but we'll see. But yeah, Ashley, super cool of him to sponsor that track, and we got to have a really awesome spec track last year at I.O. I think they're going to do some stuff this year. That'll be really awesome. I hope that goes really well. And then, so we had our Dallas Championship. So the Dallas Championship, and the reason I brought up boost mode was the most effective use of boost mode that I have ever seen so far, and that was Heads Up coming back. So Heads Up and Dubicki, there's kind of a theme here. Dubicki just he's a fast guy. He's always going to end up in those top heats, but
fast.
Not quite able to catch Heads Up this time, but it came down to genuinely the last gate and the boost mode usage. So Heads Up was, both of the pilots kind of held on to some boost modes towards the end of the race because I think they were trying to feel each other out a little bit. And Heads Up all day long, he understood how our points format worked really well, and so he was making sure that he wasn't getting in any mid-airs, and he was using boost mode to do that. So he's letting himself be a little slower off the line, and then waiting until a spot where he knew A, he could pass, and B, it was safe to pass, and then he'd use the boost there, get the pass, and because he'd been flying at a really good rate the rest of the race, he'd end up just staying in front once he'd used all his boosts. So that was super cool to see how he used that, and he ended up using it to great effect in the championship, or in the final race of the championship, and took the win, and it was really, really awesome to see. That was such a hard-fought battle. But yeah, and then we roll into Season 3, which is going on right now, and we started off Battle at the Ranch. That was a really awesome race despite an incredible amount of rain. Our pilots, if you want to check our live streams, because that is one of the most challenging races that I've seen pilots fly through, other than maybe like the storm of I.O. A couple of years ago. But yeah, they were just flying through the rain because they got plenty of weight on the quad, so they can just add rain wrap, whatever they need, and kind of waterproof all the quads. And I think we only had 1 or 2 people that ended up having issues, but we found that cameras are the most fragile part, it seems.
We definitely developed a relationship with those guys out there in Florida.
Yeah, they're amazing hosts.
They are.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to. I'm sure we'll get to race there again. It'll be awesome. But and then we went to Texas. So Texas was unique because that was our first track designed by NM Grower, And he's also pretty dang fast at spec racing in general, whatever you throw at him. Open class as well, but I think he's really got a knack for spec. So it was cool getting to see the track that he came up with. We raced at the Sparks RC Airfield through this forest. Again, another live stream that's worth watching, and another really incredible final. We saw Amari reemerge for that one. So he's back on the leaderboard. He didn't participate a whole lot in Season 2, but so we have, the heads up in Season 2 and then Amari in Season 1. Now Amari's back, and we'll get to see how he's faring in the season in a moment. But yeah, that's kind of just to recap a little bit, kind of where we're at, kind of how things have progressed, and just to talk a little bit about the history. I think that's something that we really feel is super important. So we're trying our best to preserve that history, and part of this live stream is in regards to how we best preserve that history and how we really admire and respect the pilots who have raced with us. So yeah, I'm excited to be able to talk a little bit about that in a second. But actually, I feel like now might be a good time. Why don't we give away some hats?
I like that idea.
I think we can give away some hats. So for those of you in the chat right now, or in the live stream but not chatting, go ahead and just throw a comment in the chat, and that'll get you on our list of people who might want to win a hat. Only takebacks we get are if you're not in the US because shipping is expensive, or if you're willing to pay for the shipping, then we may get it to you. But we got brand new Street League hats that we're getting pre-order, or that we did pre-orders for. They're now getting shipped to us, and we're excited to get those out to some of the winners here. And yeah, I see a lot of people in the chat. What is up? Good to see you guys there. I see Seeker, Mr. Rick James. Yeah, Mr. Rick James was out at our Battle at the Ranch. That was a super fun race. What is up, guys? Good to see y'all. Yeah, we've got we're gonna give away I think we'll do 3 hats right now, and then we'll do our ESC at the end after the big announcement.
Sounds good to me.
And yeah, we're gonna collect those names, and then let's see. All right, so I'm pulling up our doodly dads here. One moment, and we will pick our first winner. If I can. We'll see if I can pull it off. Alright, and our first winner is Lonnie King. Congratulations, Lonnie. You just won yourself a frickin' Street League hat. Love that. Let's pick our second one. And survey says, Chaser, you are also winning a Street League hat. Congratulations.
Chaser P, let's go.
What's up, Chaser? See him in the chat. And who is our next and last winner for the hat? It is going to be, server says, Mr. E. Congratulations. So we'll get those hats out to you boys. I know Mr. E is in the UK. We'll see if we can get it to him anyway. Yeah, love that. Love that. Love that. We've got one more thing to give away. And we're going to do that a little bit later, and that is a Hobbywing 60 amp ESC. And don't worry, because if you don't win that one, we also have a coupon code for that, and I'm going to need to ask one of our admins to go grab that coupon code, because I don't remember it off the top of my head.
That's okay, we'll get to look at it here in a moment when we do our big reveal.
So let's jump in and talk a little bit real quick about street cred, because that is a pivotal thing we're going to be talking about and dealing with here in the live stream. So for those of you who don't know, and I think we have a lot of pilots here who already kind of know how things work and all that jazz. Yeah, our coupon code is 20% off, so that's a pretty big chunk out of a Hobbywing ESC. So yeah, but I mean, if you want to go buy one and then see if you won one also, you can do that. The more the merrier. They're like candy. But anyway, So yeah, street cred. Let's talk a little bit about street cred. So one of the things that we were trying to solve pretty early on with Street League was how do we rank people so that we can tell who's the best, but also be able to host lots of races and deal with the fact that different races are different sizes and different number of pilots, without being too exclusive. Without without being too exclusive. We didn't want it to be like an invite-only league, that type of thing. So we came up with a concept called Street Cred. And essentially, Street Cred is your season points, right? So that's what you're trying to earn throughout the season. You go to races, and for each race, you earn Street Cred. And the way that we balanced that was the more pilots are at your race, the more Street Cred is on the line for that race. And so that made it really nice where people could host smaller races and stuff like that. And it wasn't, it didn't mess up our season at all, because if it was a smaller race, it was worth less. And so we kind of stole that concept from ELO. I know, Jonathan, you play a lot of games, and so, like, I guess, how important is that to have, like, sort of a ranking system and be able to tell where you stand?
Yeah, it's really cool to have something other than a fastest time leaderboard. Mm-hmm. For years, we've kind of just been ranked on how fast can we get the race, single track. And that's all fine and dandy, but I think that there is better ways to represent a pilot's skill, and I think that this does a really, really good job of capturing.
Yeah, and I think you kind of get a feel for how many races you need to go to, how much big races affect it, all of that, and it really helps the race directors too, because there's sort of a waterfall effect where the more pilots sign up for the race, the more pilots sign up for the race. So it gets pretty easy kind of once you get past that first threshold of getting the first couple signups, where it's like, oh, okay, pilots really want to come because they know that this race is worth a lot of street cred. So yeah, that's the concept of street cred. But the thing that we do that's a little bit unique, so in a lot of other leagues, you end up in a situation, a lot of sports in general, you end up in a situation where you kind of have to chase down, once you get to your championship, you kind of have to chase down all the people who may or may not be able to come, who are at the top of whatever leaderboard you're using. So the nice thing about Street Cred is that you genuinely own it. And so in the past, we have used cryptocurrency to represent your ownership of that, where you can send Street Cred to other people. So because you own it, you can send it, you can trade it, you can do whatever. You can buy it, you can do anything. And so it made it really nice where the people that filtered out, so we usually have a deadline. So on a specific date, towards the end of the season, we'll have a lock-in date after all the regular season races are done. And you're allowed to trade your Street Cred until that moment. And on that date, whoever's the top 16 pilots, whoever that owns the top 16 amounts of Street Cred, those are the people who receive invitations to nationals. And so there's a little bit of a balance here where let's say you earned some Street Cred for the season, but you really wanted to go to champs and you just couldn't make it to a bunch of season races. Instead of paying for a really expensive ticket and then we can host more pilots, etc., you can just send that money directly to another pilot. And so this has worked out really well for pilots who are honestly a little bit more casual about racing, where they can go and do some races and that race has value and meaning to it in a very, very real sense. So like my wife, I think, made $30 or something off of her Street Cred. She raced in one race and then ended up selling it because she couldn't go to champs. So it was kind of a cool opportunity for her to be like, oh, my flying actually has some value and meaning at the end of it, and we're able to measure that and represent, what that actually is. So yeah, that's kind of the lowdown on Street Cred. And now things are about to change because initially it was a bit tricky for us to help people through the cryptocurrency hurdles. It's just not a nice user experience. And so we've been trying very hard at Street League to work on some of the user experiences that you have as a pilot and, all of that. So now, if you have raced in a Street League race, this is our big announcement. We have a brand new website that we would love to show you. Let me see if I can pull that up and still have audio from Jonathan. We'll see if we can get it. all working. All right, give me a little audio check here, Jonathan. Let's see if we still got. Yeah, we still got you. Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the brand new Street League website. This is a especially cool website for a couple reasons, but the big one is that if you've raced with us before, and if we had your email as a result of you buying a ticket, you should have an email right now in your inbox with an invitation to join the website. And so you can see we now have profiles, and there's so much cool stuff to show here. I think I'll just kind of walk us through it a little bit. But yeah, so we've got the new website where you can sign in, you can check out all the races. Here we've got Sandusky for this year. This is going to be an amazing race. I can't wait. And you'll be able to sign up once we open signups. So right now we're going to do a beta test of this. So this is still pretty rough. We're only inviting the people who have raced with us before to use this platform. But it will be opening up to everyone else in the near future. Hashtag 2 weeks. And yeah. So yeah, one of the there's a lot to talk about here. I don't even know what order to do it in, but let's go to my favorite part of this website right now, and that is your profile. So you can see here, one of the things, we have all this history with all these races that everyone's done, and so the reason we're doing this closed beta is because we want to get all the people who have a history with us to sign up and associate that history with themselves so that they get to, you know, claim it and keep it. So that's part of the reason we're doing this as a closed beta initially. But yeah, we wanted to make sure we represented the history of how you've been flying, all the races you've done, and we will also, the other big purpose of this website is have a trading section. So you'll be able to send street cred. I think I'll do a little demo. I'm not actually going to send street cred. Let's go ahead and we'll pretend to send some street cred here to Amari. So if I go to Amari's page, you can see he is quite acclaimed, and I could go transfer street cred, and I could pick how much I want to send to him, and I could transfer that to him if I wanted. So this is gonna facilitate the sending of street cred. But I want to talk a little bit about this profile, and Amari is actually a better example. He's one of the best examples here of what a prestigious Street League pilot would look like. So on his profile page, we've got a couple things here. You got his name, location. We're adding ranks because we're gamers and we kind of like ranks. So these ranks are calculated based on the races that you've actually participated in, how well you've done, and it's very, very, very similar to an ELO system. There's some minor differences for now, but eventually we're going to transfer it to just a proper ELO system. But this gets us pretty close. So if you're salty about your rank, just understand it's an algorithm, and you'll have to go to more races and improve that rank.
Sounds like a skill issue if you're not happy with your rank.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say skill issue, but yeah, it's a skill issue. So yeah, you got your rank. You've got how much street cred you have for this season. This is not all-time street cred. This is just for your current season. And then something I'm personally really excited about, a feature that we've added, is what we call badges. And so these are different badges that you earn for various achievements that you pull off during your career with Street League. So one thing that you guys will earn if you check out your emails and sign up, you'll be earning this Day Zero badge. It looks like Amari actually already grabbed his account because he was just awarded this Day Zero badge. So yeah, you'll earn this unique Day Zero badge. This is a thank you from us to you. Thanking you for joining us in our early days before we were doing everything nicely and smoothly. So genuinely, thank you so much to everyone who's participated, and this is the best way that we can give you a little shout out. And yeah, so you got some different badges, and we'll have more badges as things go along. We want to make sure that we're rewarding and giving prestige to race directors who are hosting races and all sorts of other stuff. So badges there'll be more of them coming in the future. And then yeah, obviously you've got, well, actually the overview's got some cool stuff too. We've got your total number of races that you've ever participated in, what your average finishing position is, number of podiums, and number of times you made it into the Elite Eight. And a nice little graph here so you can see Yeah, this was the handiwork of Joshua Rice. He did an incredible job with most of this website, and just if you're wondering why it looks so dang good, he's the reason. And really appreciate all the hard work that he's done on this. And gosh, it's just beautiful. And then you've got all the races that you've participated in. You can click into them and go check out. This is the very first Street League race that ever happened. We have the street cred earned from that. So all the way back to race number 1, we've got all the data, and we're hoping to generate a whole lot more. We're looking forward to finishing out the rest of this season. I want to take a quick peek at the chat, see how our people are doing.
Led says to go check out his profile.
Oh yeah, all right, we'll check out Led's profile. I know he's proud of it. Led's got some interesting stats on his profile actually too. He's got the most number of races participated in out of anyone. Helps when he's an admin, but yeah, he's been, really going at it. I think he has only missed one national race, and that was the most recent one in Texas.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's up there. I know Free is also up there. And then yeah, he's got a race win in a regional race. He's got the day 0 badge. I want to check out Free also.
Right.
Because Free was our season number 2. Oh, he's already updated his profile. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
That is beautiful. So Free was our top street cred earner for season 2. So we got him a badge for that. Yeah, so we're hoping to add a bunch of just fun new ways to show people, that we care about their racing history with us, and we really appreciate them racing with us. And we want to know these things because we're gamers. We want to know who's the fastest. I don't know, maybe there's more to it. So for right now, if you have any experience with the website, check it out, and there's anything going wrong with it, it's in beta right now. So we're trying to get things rolling, trying to get a nice gradual launch here. But go ahead and let us know. Email support@streetleague.io. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, and if you have raced with us before, but you never received an email, go ahead and send us an email at support@streetleague.io. And we'll try to get you set up with an account, and we'll get all your history linked so that you get all that past data. So that was our big announcement. We're super excited to get everyone, checking out all their previous races and all that jazz, and looking forward to seeing you at the next Street League race. But we've got one more giveaway that we got to do. I don't think we have a ton of new users, but if you could, I guess grab all the commenters. So go ahead and comment if you haven't already, and let us know. That will enter you for the ESC, the 60 amp ESC from Hobbywing, and we will try to see if you won and bring those in. You have to give me a second here while I get it rocking and rolling. We will announce that. All right, got our doodad pulled up.
Drum roll, please.
And the survey says, Perry FPV, you've won yourself a Hobbywing 60 amp ESC. I'm remembering specifically the IO race with Perry. He was having a great time. That was super fun racing with him. So congratulations, Perry. Go ahead and get in touch with one of our admins, and we will get you that as soon as we can. So yeah, that is it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you jumping on this live stream and sharing all the love. It's good to see each and every one of you. Even those that I haven't gotten to race with yet, but here's hoping we all get to do some racing in the future. And yeah, thanks for joining, and we will see you next time here at Street League Drone Racing. I'm Sky FPV, and this is Jonathan Ficklin. signing out.